When you think about underdog stories, Nick Taylor's Sony Open victory in 2025 deserves a top spot on the list. With odds of more than 11,000 before the tournament even began, no one really saw this coming. Not the fans, not the bookmakers, and probably not even Taylor himself. But that's the beauty of sports, isn't it? It's unpredictable. Nick Taylor wasn't exactly on anyone's radar going into the Sony Open. Sure, he's a solid golfer with some impressive career highlights, but his recent form didn't inspire much confidence. Since his win at the WM Phoenix Open, Taylor hadn't managed a single top 10 finish. That's a long drought in the world of professional golf, where consistency is key to staying competitive. Bookmakers were equally skeptical. At more than 11,000 odds, Taylor was grouped with the "maybe he'll surprise us" players, rather than the favorites to win. But here's the thing, Taylor had history on his side. He'd quietly built a solid track record at the Sony Open over the years. In 2021, he finished T11, and in both 2023 and 2024, he ended T7. That's not a fluke. Those finishes hinted at a golfer who was comfortable at YLA Country Club, someone who could thrive on its fairways and greens. Even with that history, few people were talking about Taylor as a serious contender. But golf has a funny way of proving the experts wrong, and Taylor was about to deliver one of the most unexpected victories in Sony Open history. By the time Sunday rolled around, Taylor was in the mix, but not exactly in a dominant position. The first 6 holes of his final round were anything but smooth sailing. He started with a birdie at the second hole, which gave fans a glimmer of hope, only to follow it up with a bogey on the very next hole. A second bogey on the 7th hole made it clear that Taylor wasn't going to have a flawless run to the finish. At that point, he was 5 strokes off the lead. 5 strokes! It's the kind of deficit that makes most players fade into the background. But Taylor wasn't ready to disappear. Something clicked when he reached the 8th hole. Over the next 4 holes, he played like a man possessed, picking up birdies and slashing his odds dramatically. The bookmakers adjusted quickly. His chances of winning dropped to more than 3,000. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Taylor was no longer just another name on the leaderboard. He was a legitimate threat. And then came the par train. From the 12th to the 17th hole, Taylor couldn't quite find the magic he'd summoned earlier. 6 consecutive pars might not seem bad, but when you're chasing a lead, they're like hitting the pause button on your momentum. Meanwhile, players like J.J. Spaun and Stephan Jaeger were holding steady at 15 under, keeping Taylor at arm's length. By the time he reached the 18th tee, Taylor's odds had plummeted to a dismal 0.4%. That's a 1 in 250 shot. You could almost hear the fans sighing, thinking the Cinderella story was over. But Taylor had other ideas. The 18th hole was a make-or-break moment for Taylor. Standing in the fairway, he knew the situation was dire. He trailed by 2 strokes, and his only shot at forcing a playoff was an eagle. That's not exactly an easy task, even for the best players in the world. Taylor's approach shot wasn't perfect. It landed off the back of the green, rolling into a tricky position on the left side. At that point, his odds of winning were an astronomical 40,000 plus. The win seemed impossible. But if there's one thing Taylor proved that day, it's that the impossible can happen. What followed was pure magic. With everything on the line, Taylor lined up his eagle chip and struck it with precision. The ball rolled across the green, tracking perfectly toward the hole before dropping in. The crowd erupted. Just like that, Taylor had clawed his way into a playoff. His odds, which had been sky high just moments earlier, dropped to 300 plus. The momentum had shifted in a way that no one could have predicted. Playoffs in golf are a different kind of pressure. Every shot feels like it could define your career. And for Taylor, this was no exception. His opponent, Nico Echevarria, wasn't going to hand him the victory on a silver platter. On the first playoff hole, Taylor faced a do-or-die moment. Echevarria played a solid hole, putting the pressure squarely on Taylor to make a birdie. And make it he did. With nerves of steel, Taylor sank the putt to keep the playoff alive. It was a clutch moment, the kind that separates good players from great ones. The second playoff hole was where everything came together for Taylor. Echevarria ran into trouble. opening the door for Taylor to seize the moment. Staying calm and composed, Taylor played the hole with surgical precision, securing the victory in his 5th PGA Tour title. As the ball dropped into the cup, Taylor let out a triumphant laugh, a fitting end to one of the most thrilling finishes in Sony Open history. Nick Taylor's performance in playoffs is nothing short of incredible. With his win at the Sony Open, he now holds a perfect 3-0 record in PGA Tour playoffs. Think about that. 3 times Taylor has been forced into a sudden death scenario, and 3 times he's walked away victorious. That's the kind of composure and mental toughness that separates great golfers from the rest. It's not just luck, it's proof of Taylor's ability to thrive under pressure. This victory also gave a significant boost to his career rankings and reputation. Before the Sony Open, Taylor was seen as a skilled yet inconsistent player, someone who could occasionally dazzle but struggled to maintain form. Now he's firmly back in the spotlight, proving he can compete with the best. His world ranking jumped and his confidence undoubtedly soared. More importantly, this win reintroduced Taylor as a name to watch, a player who can rise to the occasion when it matters most. For Canadian golf, Taylor's win is a source of immense pride. Golf fans in Canada have been hungry for moments like this, and Taylor delivered in spectacular fashion. It wasn't just about adding another trophy to his shelf, it was about showing that Canadian golfers can shine on the biggest stages. His fans, both in Canada and beyond, were treated to a masterclass in perseverance and grit, making this victory one for the history books. The reactions to Taylor's win were as dramatic as the victory itself. Social media exploded with praise and disbelief as fans and experts alike tried to process what they had just witnessed. After all, how often do you see a player with odds as high as 40,000 plus pull off a victory? Taylor's eagle chip on the 18th hole was the moment that sent Twitter, Instagram, and golf forums into a frenzy. Fans shared videos, commentators praised his skill, and even casual viewers couldn't help but marvel at the sheer improbability of it all. Fellow players and commentators didn't hold back in their admiration either. Many highlighted Taylor's mental strength, particularly during the playoff. One PGA Tour veteran even commented that Taylor's ability to stay calm under pressure is something every golfer aspires to. Others pointed to his resilience, noting that a player who was all but written off by the odds came back to prove everyone wrong. It's not every day you see that kind of determination, and it left an impression on everyone who watched. When we talk about the Sony Open years from now, Taylor's victory will undoubtedly be one of its most memorable moments. The 2025 edition of the tournament had everything: drama, unpredictability, and an underdog story for the ages. Taylor's win won't just be remembered as a great Sony Open finish, it will be celebrated as a testament to the magic of golf. His name is now etched into the tournament's history, alongside other unforgettable champions. Nick Taylor's Sony Open victory wasn't just about the scorecard or the trophy, it was about proving that anything is possible, no matter how steep the odds. For Taylor, it marked the resurgence of his career and a reminder to the golfing world that he's a force to be reckoned with. For his fans, it was a moment of pride and inspiration, a story of grit and determination that will be told for years to come. And for the rest of us, it was a chance to witness the beauty of sports, the thrill of the underdog, the joy of the unexpected, and the reminder that, in golf, the next shot can change everything.